So today I'm going to declutter this drawer. I'm going to reduce it down to at least half, I think. Tablets, cameras, battery chargers, cords. And I thought that I would show you how I decide what I'm going to get rid of. I know that that's often the most difficult part for me, to work out, can I get rid of this, should I get rid of this? And then I wanted to show you what I do with it when I get rid of it and how I declutter it, like physically from the home. And I've found a few alternatives that I'm really happy to have come across, and I wanted to share them with you. I first decluttered the house about 5 or 6 years ago, and I really did do a thorough job. But at the time, I think a lot of these devices that I'm looking at now that are no longer of use to me, I think they were only a few years old, and so I wasn't 100% sure that they were necessary to get rid of. And I think that's an important point to remember, is that with minimalism, it's not just a once and done. We are humans and we purchase things. It's almost in our DNA to collect and protect and nurture and keep things for just in case. You know, it's part of storing for winter kind of mentality. But there's also the fact that we do need to purge this stuff. We don't need to hold on to it. And I love the fact that I've developed the muscle in my brain or in my kind of psyche that tells me this stuff will not make me happy. And I love the fact that I can remove it, and although it's difficult to do, it makes me feel physically lighter. The burden is less when I no longer have it to care for, look after, maintain, whatever. So first of all, I've got this drawer, and I just pulled it out of the bottom of my bookshelf. I've also got a gimbal here that I have not used in a long time, and I'm not 100% sure what to do with it. I've got, oh, that's my phone, that's not going. So this particular one is an Olympus. It's a really solid old school camera. So this is something I have to visit today, and I'll show you what I've decided to do with that one. This is my son's computer. He's had it set up here because he was gaming yesterday with his friends. The other thing that I have to sort out today is an old computer. So this is an old Dell. I have an iMac computer myself that I use all the time, like a desktop. We also have a laptop, and we have an iPad. It sounds extreme, but just technology accumulates. It's like it multiplies and has babies. But this particular Dell was only 2 or 3 years old at the time when I decluttered last time, and we've moved into this house 5 years ago. And so I'm just now thinking, I really need to revisit this and think through why I didn't throw it out last time, or why I didn't get rid of it. From memory, it's like a 2010, 2011. So I'll just show you. It's got a heap of dust on it. This was in here. It's got all these 1,000 cords. That's a cord for a headphone jack. This is a Bluetooth speaker for our television, and that is an Xbox. But this is the computer that I'm going to have to deal with today. So what I decided to do was just, I've been through this, I've talked to my family about these things, because I just pulled things out and I started looking at everything, pulling them out one by one. Well, do we need this? Do I use it? And majority of it wasn't mine. Majority of it belonged to someone else, or at least was predominantly used by someone else when we have bought it. So I had to revisit it all, and I had to talk to family members. So first of all, I had these little, they're kind of underwater cameras that were given to my children for a birthday. And they are literally a click and wind and a click and wind, like an old Kodak thing. And what I did was work out if they're going, if there's anything in them. There's one that's no longer going, so I really would like to develop it and see if there was any photos taken. And the other one has got 3 more photos to go, so we're going to take those and then get them both developed. I'm pretty sure that's a send away in the mail kind of thing. I think you can bust these open. So those need to be actioned. I'm going to use this box to take things to where I'm going to send them. These 2 have come off Apple devices. I think this is the connection that was used for laptops. Not sure. We don't need them. We've never used them. These are some old Bluetooth Panasonic headphones that did have noise cancelling in them. They were used so much at the time by my husband when he was traveling on planes a lot. And now we just have the smaller Bluetooth things. The stuffing in them has come open, and also when you use them it just has this kind of crackling noise. So these are beyond their use by date, and so they're going to have to be gone. There was a random cord, an adapter that is of no use to anybody for anything. Actually there was 2 of them. I won't even bother showing you. We had these 2 tablets. So these were purchased when my children were, I want to say 8 and 10, because that was when they were first starting to get into, you know, personal devices for kids. They're 17 and 15 now, so 7 years ago. And they were using these for ebooks because libraries were coming out with books that kids could read online, and they were starting to play online games. And I remember Clash of Clans. Loved Clash of Clans. I enjoyed the game. It was fun doing it with them. It did get old after a while, but the technology on on it is too old now. It doesn't really go that fast. I probably could pass it on to maybe a 5 or 6 year old, but in actual fact, the 5 or 6 year old has probably got an iPad now. So I talked to my kids about it. My son would like to hold on to his because he said he still uses his Clash of Clans game, would you believe? He kind of uses it to keep updated. He likes looking back on it, and he just is a little bit of a hoarder in my opinion, but that's fine. My daughter has no interest in this whatsoever. She's like, why? What? So I'm putting this in the box of things to remove. Now this one was so cute. This was my first kind of digital camera that I could plug in, and it had a USB charger. Look at it, it's cute. So this was what I used initially to start filming my kids. I loved using this. It was just simple to use. I could carry it with me everywhere. I had a really big SD card for it. But when I turned it on, I charged it. When I plugged this in yesterday, it has no life in it whatsoever. I couldn't even get it to turn on. So that's a bit of a shame. I just have to keep in my mind, the reason why I don't need to keep this is because what I used it for, which was to take videos of my kids, I still have those videos. I can say goodbye to this camera. There's a lot of nostalgia behind it. It's kind of like retro, but I don't need to use it. If I can do something with this that's more useful than it just sitting in my drawer, then I will. But for now, I'm just going to be okay with letting it go. And the charger, of course. Pro tip, when you're storing chargers, make sure that you put a little note on it. I've just sellotaped a post-it note on there, and it just says purple camera. So I knew that that's what it was a charger for. This other thing here is a Lumix camera, and it was waterproof, shockproof. My husband has decided that it really doesn't need to be with us anymore, and so this Lumix, and it's, I'll take the SD card out. Most phones have way surpassed the technology of something like this. Any footage that we gain from this will be quite pixelated, and if I can find a better use for this, I'd rather not have it just sitting in the drawer if we're never going to use it again. I know that always we're carrying our phones on us. Even this is probably not waterproof, even though this is why I would keep it, because we go to the beach a lot. This is something that I really think needs to go. It's just really hard to cut the apron strings. I mean, this was $329, but this was in 2012. We bought this in 2012, so that's 8 years ago, and that was a lot back then, and it's been used a lot, but it's done its job. Thank you very much, but now you can go. The other few things that I found were these old telecom phones. So these are real archaic brick phones, and these belong to my oldest son, who's nearly 28. These were things that he owned when he was a teenager. They're not mine to throw away. It doesn't really matter whether I keep these or not. He's probably never going to look at these, but they'll go in a box that I've kept for things that I've found around the place that I know that he may or may not want, and so they'll go in there and they can be his to decide whether he throws them away. The other thing I found in here was an old iPod, and this was like my first ever Apple device. It has a pedometer on it, music on it, and it also has the ability to take a video, a very short, small video. But I like the idea of using this for when I go for exercise and I don't want to have to take my phone. And I like the idea of it just having some music on there if I want to go for a run and still want to be able to listen to some tunes. So I'm going to hold on to it. Plus it's really retro. It doesn't take up a whole lot of space. I love opening it up. It brings back a bunch of memories, and it's just very, very cute and cool. And my husband and my oldest boy pitched in and they bought this for me for my birthday, and it was just a real special thing that they got me at the time. So I'm not going to get rid of it. I've still got the charger for it. It's one of those old, kind of really old connections. It's not the original Apple one, it's a Belkin one, but it still does the trick. Now, in going with this charger, there is also an old iPhone that we've got. This is like a 5S maybe. This is used predominantly around our place when someone's phone is broken and is in the shop, or if they're between phones or something like that. It still goes, but it does not keep up with the apps that we predominantly use now. You can't use Messenger on it very well. No way could you use Instagram or Snapchat. It does have email, and it does do calls, it does do text. It is a smartphone still, and it's not completely outdated. It has got a lot of web searching abilities. You can do Safari and Chrome. So this is something I talked to my husband about, and we really wanted to keep an iPhone as a backup. It's just these two little things that we're going to keep in here. There was an AUX cable, and these kind of come in handy. We thought we didn't need one, and we actually ended up having to purchase one recently because we needed it for an adapter, and when I have searched through here, we've got one already. So that's a classic example of you've got to keep on top of what you're storing. Sorry, I just sneezed. So this is a AUX cable that I talked to my son with his gaming. I said, will you use this, because we've got another one that my husband will store at his work for his electronics that he uses, but my son said please keep it because I may use it. But at least I know now there's an AUX cable in there. The other things that are in here are a few computer items from my son's gaming computer. It's his instruction manual. I mean, whoever reads these? These are online now, but he wants to keep it. Again, he's a little bit of a hoarder. This is his Samsung tablet that I'll keep in there with his stuff. And these are a few things that he thought he would need. Low viscosity thermals, but he never used it, but he still wants to hold on to it. And these are a few extra surplus pieces that I'm fine with him holding on to. So this means my drawer has been whittled down from what it was to that. I'm okay with it. It's got the iPhone, the iPod, the AUX, the charger for those two things, and his computer stuff. I've got my son's phones that he's going to go in his keepsakes. I've got those two that are going to get developed. And this is the stuff that I need to get rid of. This camera here, which although it is still in very good condition, but I think what I'll do with this is see if the people that gave it to me want it back. And if they don't, I'm going to sell it and I'll give them the money that I get for it, because it would be good if it's still used. Maybe I could give it to the secondhand store if I can't sell it. It really is quite old, but a lot of people can't afford much, but a $50 camera might be great for someone who just wants to do at-home photos or start to play around with photography. This gimbal here, the research that I've done on it, when you turn it on, this whole piece that holds onto your phone usually just spins out of control and shakes, and I have no idea why. They said that it might be an app upgrade, that it was clashing, but I haven't really been able to work it out, so I'm going to do a little bit more research. My husband's pretty techie, so he might be able to fix it and then I will sell it on, but if he can't fix it, I'm just going to send it to the place where I'm going to send these. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is this computer, and it really is well beyond its use by date now. It's no longer of any kind of value to me. It's not even a kid's play toy. The programs that we use don't really load anymore. Yeah, it's just kind of past it. So all I need to do with this item, to make sure there's no photos stored on there or documents, things that are significant that I need to download from there or print out or make sure I've put them on a USB. The dust is rusty. Look, there's USBs down here. This was for the keyboard. Maybe that's the keyboard and that's the monitor, I'm not sure. But there are USBs there that I can use. Yeah, so sometimes when you are decluttering electronics, one job becomes multiple jobs. You just have to get a decent sized USB and make sure you're dragging over anything that's of importance. Make sure you don't give it away or throw it away unless it's got nothing on there of value to you anymore. So I've got all these things I want to get rid of, including that computer in there once I've downloaded everything off it. The exciting thing that I found is a place to take them. So what I did was Google recycle old devices, old batteries, old cameras, and it came up with a website from Canon, and they said go to your local stationers called Office Max here, and they said they will recycle your cameras and batteries for you. So I gave them a call and they couldn't do it. They said that it was old, it was out of date, but they said there is a recycle centre in town that you can take your old cameras and phones to. So I gave them a call and they said yeah sure, bring them round. It's absolutely free of charge, but if you have got any big computers or monitors, we do have a fee for those. And I said, well, what's the benefit of me bringing them to you? What do you guys do with them? And she said, well, we disassemble them all. We remove the metal from the plastic and we make the parts do other things. So I'm really excited to go and see what they do with these particular things. And I really want to show you what the outcome is, because I know how kind of unnerving and unsettling it is just putting something in a dumpster and now it's just going to sit in the landfill. And it's like, there must be another way. There must be something that can be done with all this stuff. And I'm hoping that I found an answer to that problem, and I'm hoping that they will actually be able to help me. So I'm going to take it there and I'll show you what the outcome is, and I'll ask them a few more questions while I'm there, and hopefully they'll be able to give me some answers. And in the meantime, I'm going to remove what I can from that computer and make sure it's downloaded onto USB. This looks like it's going to take a while. So I've gone into what is the rabbit warren of old photo computer files, and on this particular desktop there is like ones going back to 2004, And so I'm just been working for the last hour and a half making them go from the computer to a USB and transferring them to my MacBook, and it's taking ages. Like the last upload is halfway through and it's still got 40 minutes to go. So I think that I'm going to do this more in the evening. I'm going to take the other things along to recycling depot, see if I can find out some more information. I'll see there also whether they'll take this computer, like how much will it cost me. I'll find out what that costs, and I'll just find out if I can recycle the rest of the other things and somehow just feel like I've accomplished something with the decluttering exercise today, because this looks like it could be an ongoing project, but I've probably got about 3 more downloads to do and I should be done. So that's where I'm at. This is like a real time waster, so I have to be careful here. Right, so here I am with all my bits and bobs and I'm taking them in, and to be honest I'm a little bit anxious. I'm like double checking in my head. Do I really want to get rid of that Lumix camera? The waterproofing in it could be really good for the summertime. Have I got all the photos off it? Have I not given away any memory cards that are really important? It's fine. It's not that big a deal. I could replace every single one of these things if I needed to. I just hope they take it, but we'll see. So that was pretty exhilarating, just getting rid of those. I still had that moment of anxiety where you pass it over, but it wasn't actually that bad. She didn't even check any of it. She just said, yep, I'll take it. Apparently there's someone that they contract to that strips it all apart and they remove all the metals. The plastic, there's not a lot they can do with it. The plastic doesn't even get recycled here in New Zealand, which is such a shame. But they do take the metals out of it. The batteries get taken by a particular organisation. And I asked her about the desktop computer we have, the PC, and she said that if it's a full computer, they take the whole thing at no charge. It's only if it's just a monitor, there is a fee to that. I did look and see that they sell refurbished laptops and refurbished desktops. They weren't that expensive, maybe $150 for a refurbished desktop, and they do repairs. So that's interesting, because I often think, oh, if I could just do something with this laptop, like my Mac in particular, it's running moderately slower than what I would like. And so I think, oh, if I needed to do a repair, or if I wasn't sure if there was an upgrade and I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, I could take it there. So I learned something today in trying to recycle some of this stuff. I learned a bit more about the afterlife of computers and cameras and mobile phones and devices. I've got heaps more of the photos to download from the hard drive to a USB and transport them to my Mac, to my online storage. That's going to be a process where I'm just going to sit with a really good book and transfer things. It's like 45 minutes for every 8 gigabytes that I'm transferring, and I've got about 70 to transfer. So it'll take me a day or two to get that done. I'll probably have to work on it in the evening, just while I'm doing other things. Maybe when I'm editing videos, that's what I'll be doing on the side. I hope that you have just seen my little process of decluttering all our devices, and just the thought that it's not a one and done thing. It is something that you do have to revisit every few years or seasonally, you know, as you go about your family's life, as you kind of roll on into the next phase. For me, I'm moving into teenagers, but I'm dealing with devices that we had when they were younger, when they were primary age. Hopefully this was an encouragement to you to be able to just cut the apron strings, just let it go, and just know that that thing served you well for the season, but it's over now, and it's okay to just say thanks very much, but I'm moving on to the next piece of technology that's going to serve me better. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. I look forward to chatting with you next time. Let me know in the comments if you've had any decluttering success with your technology, devices, cameras, phones, chargers, all the things that seem to accumulate and multiply unnecessarily without even any help from us. But until next time, bye for now.